we're at the second part of the story, the ransom of the Red Chief, right? Do you remember where we were? So there were these two con men called Sam and Bill, and they had decided to kidnap a young boy from a village called the Summit, right? Summit. And they had managed to kidnap the boy. And the boy was the son of a prominent citizen of that village, a mortgage financier, a money lender, right? And they had managed, but the boy wasn't very easy. He would kick the men, and Bill was already very terrified of him. And the boy was very happy to play the Indian war game, right, between him and the other two. All of this was happening, and the next morning at daybreak, Sam was awakened by horrible, awful, terrifying screams from Bill. And that is where we stopped. Okay, I jumped up. We begin. I jumped up to see what the matter was. Red Chief, the little boy, Red Chief was sitting on Bill's chest with one hand twined in Bill's hair, okay? And in the other, he had the sharp knife we had used for slicing bacon. What was he doing? He was industriously, very, very hardworking he was, okay? He was industriously and realistically actually trying to act out the punishment that he had given Bill earlier last evening to have him scalped. He was trying to take the scalp of Bill's head with his knife. No wonder Bill screamed, Allah. I got the knife away from the kid, made him lie down again. But from that moment, Bill's spirit was broken. How? To be terrified like that? Imagine. He lay down on his side of the bed, but he never closed an eye again in sleep as long as that boy was with us. I dozed off for a while because it was not yet sunrise, right? I dozed off for a while. But along towards sunup, I remembered that Red Chief had said I was to be burnt at sunrise. I wasn't nervous or afraid. Oh, hello. No, not me. But I sat up, lit my pipe and leaned against a rock. Bill asked, why are you getting up so soon, Sam? Me? Oh, I got a pain, kind of a pain in my shoulder. I thought sitting up would rest that. You're a liar. You're afraid. I know. You were to be burnt at sunrise and you were afraid that he would do it. And he would too. If he could find a match, he would. I am laughing. Bill was not laughing, okay? Bill was absolutely serious. Isn't it awful, Sam? Do you think anybody will pay out money to get this little imp like that back home? Sure, I said. A rowdy kid like that is just the exact kind that parents love. They dote upon such kids. Now you and the chief get up and cook breakfast while I go up on top of this mountain and generally just survey the land, find out what is happening. Okay? So I went up on the peak of the little mountain and ran my eye over the vicinity. Over towards the village, the summit, I expected to see the sturdy farmers of the village, armed with scythes and pitchforks, beating the countryside for the dastardly kidnappers. He expected there would be a search and rescue party going, okay, looking for the kidnappers and trying to get the boy back. What did I see? A peaceful landscape with one man ploughing with a brownish grey kind of mule. That's all he could see. No stirrings up in the village. Nobody was looking down the creek, the river, to see whether the little boy drowned. No. No couriers dash hither and yon. No. You know why? Bringing news. Actually, the news of no news to the worried parents. No. There was a very ideal attitude, idyllic attitude, okay, of sleepiness pervading that entire section of that external outward surface of Alabama that I could see. Just sleepiness. Nobody is worried. I was taken aback for a bit because I expected more. I expected a lot of furor going on, right? So I say to myself, perhaps it has not yet been discovered that the wolves, so I have to say that, wolves have borne away the tender. He might have stopped for a second and thought about the Red Chief, but he continued, I'm sure. The tender lamb from the fold. Heaven help the wolves. He remembered, it's not a tender lamb. If nobody has discovered it yet, heaven should help the wolves, because we are the ones who are suffering. He thought maybe people have not yet discovered the little boy was kidnapped. I say this and I went down the mountain to breakfast. And what did I find? Each time I go back to the cave, I find something totally different, right? When I got up to the cave, I found Bill packed up against the side of it. Breathing hard, okay? And what? And the boy was threatening to smash him with a rock half as big as a coconut. And Bill was on the side of the cave, very scared, breathing hard. And explained Bill, he put a red hot potato, boiled one, down my back. A boiling potato, right? A boiled potato, a very hot one down my back, and then mashed it with his foot. So obviously, I would have been, I was so hurt, it was so much pain. So what did I do? I boxed his ears. I gave him one foot on the ear. Now, so he is now threatening to throw a rock at me. Have you got a gun about you, Sam? He really wanted to shoot that kid. Have you got a gun about you? What did I do? I took the rock away from the boy and kind of patched up the argument. Kid says to Bill, I will fix you. No man has ever yet struck the Red Chief and haven't got paid for it. You better beware. I will get you back for that. Because Bill hit the boy, right, on the ears. Better beware. After breakfast, the kid takes a piece of leather with strings wrapped around it, from his pocket, and goes outside the cave, slowly unwinding it. Bill asks anxiously, what is he up to now? You don't think he'll run away, do you, Sam? That was not anxiety, that was a little bit of happiness. You don't think he will run away, do you, Sam? No fear of it, says I. They use says a lot because it's from those times. And these are not educated people also, right? They con men. So I say, no fear of him running away. He doesn't seem to be much of a homebody. He's not homesick, right? He's happy to be with us here. But we've got to fix up some plan about the ransom. There doesn't seem to be much excitement around the summit on account of his disappearance. But maybe, just maybe, they haven't realized that he's gone. His parents might think he's spending the night with Aunt Jane or some other neighbor. You never know. Anyway, he will be missed today. Tonight we must get a message to his father demanding the $2,000 for his return. Just then we heard a kind of a war whoop, such as David might have emitted when he knocked out the champion Goliath. Remember David? Okay, the underdog who actually knocked out the giant Goliath, right? The very, very big champion. What did he knock him out with? A slingshot, right? He used the slingshot and he hit him with a rock. You can see what is coming. We heard a war whoop just like that. It was a sling that Red Chief had pulled out of his pocket and he was whirling it around his head. I dodged. I dodged. And I heard a heavy thud. Thup! And a sigh. Okay, kind of a sigh from Bill. What kind of a sigh was that? Like a horse would give out when you take his saddle off. Finally, at the end of the day, so tired and you're resting, you know that the rest is near. That kind of a sigh. A rock the size of an egg, dinosaur egg maybe, but the size of an egg, okay, had caught Bill just behind the ear. That is where the rock had hit him. Left ear, so here, left ear, okay. He loosened himself all over. Where did he fall? He fell in the fire across the frying pan of hot water that they were boiling for washing the dishes. I dragged him out and I had to pour cold water over his head for the next half an hour. Power, I mean, who asked you to go kidnap somebody? But still, power. By and by, Bill sits up and feels behind his ear and says, "Sam, do you know who my favorite biblical character is?" I say, take it easy, it's okay, you will come to your senses soon, don't worry. King Herod, he says. Who's King Herod? He was that king who wanted to find baby Jesus, and he orders all the infants in Bethlehem to be killed. He's like, that is my favorite character, who would kill a little child. My character, no child. He hated every child by this time, okay? And he asked, you won't go away and leave me here alone, will you, Sam? I went out, caught that boy, shook him until his freckles also rattled, okay? Okay? And he says, if you don't behave, I said to the boy, I will take you straight home. Look at that. That is the threat. Not anything else. I will take you home. Now, are you going to be good or not? I was only having some fun, he said sullenly. I didn't mean to hurt old Hank. But what did he hit me for? I will behave, Snake Eye, if you don't send me home and if you let me play the Black Scout today. 2 conditions he put. I will behave if you don't send me home and if you let me play Black Scout. I don't know the game, said I. That's for you and Mr. Bill to decide. He is your playmate for the day. I am going away for a while on business. On business. Now you come in and make friends with him and say you're sorry for hurting him, or home you go at once. He also had conditions, right? You have to play with Mr. Bill. You come in, make it up to him, make friends with him, say sorry for hurting him, or you will go home immediately. So I made him and Bill shake hands, and then I took Bill aside and told him I was going to Poplar Cove, a little village 3 miles from the cave. Remember where we had hired the buggy earlier? Okay? And find out what I could about how the kidnapping is being considered in the summit. I also thought it was best to send an advance letter, a warning letter to Old Man Dorset that day, demanding the ransom and dictating how it should be paid. You know, Sam, Bill says to me, okay, I have stood by you without batting an eye in earthquakes, fire and flood, in poker games, dynamite outrages, police raids, train robberies and cyclones. I've stood by you without batting an eyelid. Right? Bravely. I never lost my nerve till we kidnapped that 2-legged skyrocket of a kid. He's got me going. You won't leave me long with him, will you, Sam? I'll be back sometime this afternoon. Don't worry, I will be back, but sometime this afternoon. You must keep the boy amused and quiet till I return. And now we will write the letter to Old Dorset. Bill and I got paper and pencil and worked on the letter. While Red Chief, with a blanket wrapped around him, what did he do? He strutted up and down, guarding the mouth of the cave. He did that. Now Bill begged me tearfully. Okay, begged me, pleaded with me. Please make the ransom $1,500, $1,500, not $2,000. I am not attempting to criticize or downplay the celebrated moral aspect of parental affection. I'm sure parents are very fond of their kids, but we are dealing with humans, and it isn't human for anybody to give that kind of money, $2,000 for that 40-pound chunk of freckled wild cat. Okay, isn't human. So let's just be realistic. Ask for $1,500. I'm willing to take a chance at $1,500. Okay, $2,000 I'm not willing to take a chance. You can charge the difference up to me. The poor man says I will pay that $500 extra if you just please reduce it to $1,500 that we will ask him. So just to relieve Bill, I acceded, I agreed, and we collaborated a letter. Okay, I'm going to read the letter to you. Dear respected Ebenezer Dorset, whatever it is. We have your boy concealed in a place far from summit. It is useless for you or the most skillful detectives to attempt to find him. Absolutely, the only terms on which you can have him back are these. These are the conditions, okay? Only on fulfilling these conditions will you get him back. 1. We demand $1,500 in large bills for his return. Do not give us $1 bills, okay? We want large bills, $100 or $200, we want that. The money has to be left at midnight tonight, at the same spot and in the same box as your reply. And I'm describing where you should do this. If you agree to these terms, send your answer in writing by a solitary messenger. You should send one person alone. Tonight at 8:30 o'clock. Send the person by 8:30 tonight. After crossing Owl Creek on the road to Poplar Curve, there are 3 large trees about 100 meters apart, close to the fence of the wheat field on the right hand side. At the bottom of the fence post, opposite the 3rd tree, you will find a small pasteboard box. The messenger will place the answer in this box and return immediately to the summit. So what has he asked for? If you want the boy back, you have to fulfill 2 conditions, right? You have to give us the money to $1,500. And if you agree to it, you have to send one person to give us your reply, where in a box at the foot of a tree in a particular position is described. And the money also in the same place but at midnight later. Right? The message has to be given by 8:30. Money has to be given by midnight. Okay? We know this. Now, if you attempt any treachery or fail to meet any of the conditions or our demands, you will never see your boy again. You will never see your boy again. Seriously, they were writing. Now, if you pay the money as demanded, he will be returned to you safe, well within 3 hours. By midnight, you will have the boy back. These terms are final, and if you do not agree to them, no further communication will be attempted. 2 desperate men. Here, desperate means people who will not stop at anything. We will kill your boy, you will not see him back. But they were also actually really desperate. That is why 2 desperate men. I addressed this letter to Dorset, put it in my pocket, and as I was about to start, the kid comes up to me and says, "Snake Eye, you said I could play the Black Scout while you were gone." "Play it." "Of course," I said. "Mr. Bill will play with you." "What kind of a game is it?" "I am the Black Scout," says the Red Chiefer. "I have to ride to the stockade, where you have a boundary and everything, where people guard of a village, okay, of a settlement. I have to ride to the stockade to warn the settlers that Indians are coming. I am tired of playing the Indian myself. Now I want to play the other side. I want to be the Black Scout. Somebody who is at the outpost warning you when, raiders are coming." "All right," I say. "It sounds harmless to me. I guess Mr. Bill will help you to foil the savages." "What am I to do?" asked Bill again, looking at the kid suspiciously. "You are the horse." Black Scout says. No more Red Chief, Black Scout. "Get down on your hands and knees." You know how you played the elephant and the horse with little kids, eh? They climb upon your back and you are actually on your hands and knees. So you are the horse, he says to Bill. "How can I ride to the stockade without a horse? I have to ride, eh?" And I said, "You had better keep him interested till we get the scheme going. Loosen up, relax, chill, do this." Bill gets down on all fours, all his 4 knees and hands, and a look comes in his eye like a rabbit's when it is trapped. "How far is it to the stockade?" he asks in a husky voice. 90 miles, says the Black Scout. And you have to hump yourself. You can't just go slowly. You have to hump yourself to get there on time. Whoa now, come on. Black Scout jumps on Bill's back and digs his heels in his side. Very, very painful, right? That's what you do to horses. That's what you do to horses to make them go faster. "For heaven's sake," says Bill, "please hurry back, Sam, as soon as you can. I wish we hadn't made the ransom more than 1,000. I wish we had just asked for 1,000, not even 1,500. And he tells the boy, "You quit kicking me or I will get up and warm you good. I'll give you one fut if you don't stop kicking me." I walked over to Poplar Curve, right? Sat around the post office and the store. Usually, where people mill around, like a chai kada in Kerala, okay, where you will generally see a lot of people sitting around talking about what the news of the day is. So I was talking with people who came into trade. One person says that he hears Summit is all upset. Why? Because the elder Ebenezer Dorset's boy is either lost or stolen. That is all I wanted to know. I bought some smoking tobacco, referred casually to the price of black-eyed peas, posted my letter very surreptitiously without anybody noticing, very quietly, and came away. The postmaster said the mail carrier would come by in an hour to take the mail on to Summit. So in an hour it should take it, and in an hour it should take it to Summit, and the man should receive it. I got back to the cave. The bill and boy were not to be found. I explored the vicinity of the cave and even risked a yell or two. I even risked it and yelled for them. But there was no response. So I lighted my pipe. I got new tobacco, right? I lighted my pipe, sat down on a mossy, greener, grass bank and awaited developments. What were the developments? What happened next? I shall tell you in the third part. By now, I'm sure you must be reminded of Home Alone and the kidnappers and Kevin, right? But it's not as smooth as that, let me tell you. And we shall find out how the story ends. Ta-ta!